What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, along with Tyler Stafford, coming to you after the Houston Astros sweep the cooked Arizona Diamondbacks here in Phoenix at Chase Field. The Astros currently own the best record in the American League as of this recording. However, the Toronto Blue Jays are in the process of dismantling the defensively inept New York Yankees at the moment. So if and when the Blue Jays close that out, I believe they will be tied for the best record in the American League. But notwithstanding, Tyler, the Astros put their 17th player on the injured list on Tuesday. We will talk about that in a little bit. But they sat Jose Altuve and Cam Smith on Wednesday. Their lineup was –
Wait, don't look. That's going to be my first segment. Don't pull it up.
I don't even think that's I make a joke all the time, like, oh, this is a split squad lineup. Like, I think the lineup they ran out today, that probably wouldn't even go on a split squad in spring training. And they somehow got 11 hits, took 15 at bats with runners in scoring position, and won 4-3.
Yeah, so I also watched the game. First off, let's say this was the Brice Matthews series.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome. Great looking swing. I mean, all swings look good when you're hitting them 400 feet, I think. But those in particular, I really like the way that he opened up his hips. The swing looked really good. He also played really good defense. That
Mm-hmm.
double play that he turned to end the game yesterday was really, really good. He made a really good play up the middle today too. He's looked good.
Yeah, I think too the thing about Bryce, and I tried to write it on Tuesday after he had his, or Monday after he had his 2 homer game. When they brought him up, when they brought Brice Matthews up, no one in the organization did much to hide the fact that they did not believe he was quote unquote ready. Joe Espada, it was pretty glaring. Joe, on the day that Brice Matthews debuted at Dyken Park, there was 35, 40 media members there. Hometown kid. It was supposed to be like a celebratory real thing. And Joe Espada was very kind of calmed everybody down. He's like, hey guys, look, it's a big day for him, big day for the Astros Youth Academy, big day for the city. But just remember, this guy's not a finished product. There's a lot of development to do. Dana Brown went on the radio that weekend and basically said, yeah, we had to go get him before he was ready, but we think he has the makeup and to overcome that. And I think you're seeing it. Look, he is not probably ready to play every day at the big league level. He is here because they have no one else. But the tools are there. The bat speed has always been elite. He's got a good eye at the plate. He walks a good bit. But where he's got to improve is the swing decisions, like picking the pitches he swings at, because he swings at a lot of pitches that he whiffs on, is prone to chasing, is prone to not making contact. But I mean, when he does get a hold of one, it comes off the bat very loud. I believe he's averaging 101 miles an hour on the 12 balls he's put in play so far at the big league level. He hits it very hard and it goes very far. And there is some fast twitch, some athleticism in his hips. And it's a sight to see. The tools are all there, even if maybe he is not completely there as a player yet.
Yeah, I mean, just watching him for a couple of games, it's very clear. Yeah, there are better players than him right now. Not on the Astros; they're all gone. But there are certainly better performers. But the ceiling that you can already tell is there with just the tools that he has, like with what he can, develop into, is really impressive. I mean, you can see why he's, been the top prospect for the Astros. Cam Smith notwithstanding. But you got me saying Swift on here. This is
I
your
know.
fault. Yeah. I say that I was at the Eras tour. It ruled. So fun. Okay.
What were the secret songs? Not the secret songs, the actual songs.
They were like deep cut early ones. I didn't know it, but it was one about her grandma who is from Houston.
Oh,
It's from the first album. My sister was very excited about that, but I didn't know either of the secret songs.
well, that
Marjorie.
It's a
There we
great
go.
song. I mean, everything she writes is fantastic, but that song is so well written.
We're gonna lose everyone, but I was also there on the night that you probably even remember. I was watching it live and I told my sister she has something on her hand. She must have cut her hand somewhere. We were not close enough to see that. But then on Twitter after, everybody just had all these pictures of her just with like blood running down her hand and she had to get like taped up in between. So anyway, I noticed it in the moment. I was very proud. Anyway, if you're still here 5 minutes in, I have a fun game that we're going to play. Chandler, you were in Phoenix. You
Mhm.
were physically present to watch the Astros today. I watched a good bit of it, unless my boss is listening, in which case I did not watch any of it. I was working the whole time. But I wanted to play Name That Astro, today's lineup edition. I wanted to
Mhm.
see, can you, off the top of your head, remember what the Astros lineup was today?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, Trammell led off
Okay. Where's he playing?
center.
Okay.
Who hit second? I I don't remember who hit second. Caratini hit third.
Nope. Carantini
Caratini
hit
did.
second.
Caratini hit second.
He did.
Oh, I cannot. I was literally there. I hate to
I
be there.
watched the whole thing. There's no way I could do this. That's why I wanted to test you.
No, like I mean,
DH was next. So Carantini was catching.
oh,
DH was
Christian
third.
Walker DH'd.
Uh huh.
Yiner caught. He hit cleanup.
Uh huh.
Uh, was Brice Matthews hitting fifth?
He was.
Was Dubon hitting
Mm
sixth?
hmm.
It was Chaz hitting seventh.
Nope.
Chaz was in there though. Chaz hit eighth.
Chaz
Who,
hit eighth.
who hit above Chaz? Was that Cooper Hummel?
Uh huh.
And then did Dubon hit ninth?
Nope. You
No,
already named DuPont.
Short hit ninth.
Nope.
I don't know, man.
Whitcomb.
Oh, Shea Wickham. Everybody happy Shea Wickham played? Like I
Hey.
got for 3 weeks, my Twitter was just people bitching that Shea Wickham didn't play. Shea Wickham played today. Is everybody happy?
That is the best team in the American League as we record this podcast. We have both, ostensibly professionally watched this team, and we could not get through that line. No chance could I have done as well as you. I'm impressed you got as much as you did. But, I mean, what more can you say about this team, right? Like, it just, people just keep coming. Jason Alexander is going to be here tomorrow, right? He'll be
Mm-hmm.
pitching. He's going to turn into a Brandon Walter type, who is apparently one of the best pitchers on the planet. It's crazy. How do they keep? I know we keep saying this, but I don't understand how they keep doing this.
I've run out of words. I'm paid to come up with words about it. I've run out of them. I'm going to keep pointing back to culture. I mean, it's something just about there is some juju, there is some vibe when you walk into that clubhouse that like everyone feels at ease, everyone feels welcomed, and there is just for a. I think this is maybe the best way to put it. Like for a team that has gone to the playoffs 8 straight years, and for a team that has contended and is a dynasty in any way you shape it, whether it's an American League dynasty, whatever you want to say, for a team that has had this run, like the sense I get from like people that come up, from people that get in the clubhouse is like they don't feel pressure when they walk in there. And like it could like that could be completely different. Like you go into other places and bigger markets, obviously, with more intense media scrutiny, with more kind of expectations around you, then the pressure to start to build up. Like I get the sense, when you talk to new guys that come in, when you talk to some of the prospects that come up, like it is such a welcoming environment that like they don't put pressure on these guys to perform right away. Part of that is because 9 times out of 10, when you're walking into the clubhouse, you're surrounded by guys that can help carry the team. Like you don't have to be the one that carries the team. Now, this may be that one outlier time where like everyone is hurt and anyone that they bring up is automatically going to hit sixth the next day and probably has to take some pretty consequential at bats. So I think that's part of it. But yeah, man, I mean, you really, and I think what they showed in this stretch, they did not play well going into the break. Went 1-5 on that homestand. They come out, they didn't play poorly in Seattle. They didn't play poorly those first 2 games. They lost a 1-run game in the middle game, which they are now 20-9 in 1-run games. Like that's unsustainable. Like every now and then you're going to lose a 1-run game. Like, you're not going to win every 1-run game you play. They played okay in Seattle. They just played another pretty good team that Luis Castillo threw well the first game. Second game, they lost a 1-run game. And then just the response and the resiliency that they have. And it's unquantifiable. There's not a data point or like a stat I can point to that says this is why they're like this. But, look, I think the two things, Tyler, that are unquestionable is they pitch it very well and they catch the ball. And I think their defense has gone very under talked about and underrated this season. But that's a big part of that's why they're 20-9 in 1-run games. That's why they're able to play, tight games with these kind of lineups. Because the one thing about all those guys that we just couldn't name right there, all these fill-ins, these substitutes, is they can pick it. Like, Zach Short is a good defender at like 3 out infield positions. Taylor Trammell is a really good center fielder. Cooper Hummel is holding his own in left field. He's had some bad reads every now and then, but Cooper Hummel can play all around the diamond and is a good defender. Victor Caratini today at first base, he leapt and made that catch. I missed him in the lineup. He played, but he like stole a hit from, I think it was Josh Naylor, like leapt up 10 feet in the air and caught a ball. Like, this team catches the ball. They don't give the other team more than 27 outs. And there's something to be said for that.
Not to get, back to the sappy, unquantifiable stuff, but as someone who has been here watching the Astros for 30 plus years now, you're right. It is the culture, and there's so much that has changed. Like, again, we talk about it all the time, like Altuve is basically the only person here, but I've seen big prospects come up through the Astros system. I've seen, really, really good teams. But I'm telling you, man, as someone who was here for a long time, and I'm sure people within, the Astros organization would agree to this, is the winning mindset culture thing. I feel like you can point directly to when Carlos Correa made the big league team. Like, there was a real like shift in the attitude of the team, and it just feels like that's still just kind of the remnants of that. Of like, you're on a great team. Like, this is a team that wins. This is how we treat people here. And it just feels like it's still echoing from that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if people within the organization would agree with that, but I think that's really where it started, at least for this run.
I mean, that certainly probably has hold in it. I wasn't around. Actually, I was an intern in 2015 covering when Correa came up, but I didn't have the institutional knowledge then that I have now. So like, I guess I didn't appreciate it at the time when he came up, and I didn't understand kind of what everyone had been through for the 4 years maybe that preceded his arrival. But I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think it all goes back to Altuve. Yeah. Like, when you have that dude, when that dude is not only the leader of your team, but the nicest guy and the most humble guy and selfless guy in the clubhouse, like, that just permeates all around. And he gets a lot of credit for a lot of things, statistically and on the field, and what he's done in big moments and clutch moments. But like that, it can't be overstated, kind of his presence and how it looms kind of through a clubhouse that continues to get a bunch of new faces in it, that will get new faces in it maybe within the next 8 or 9 days at the trade deadline. Something happened on Tuesday that may shift the Astros trade deadline priorities, and we will talk about that right after a message from DraftKings. Nothing beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching baseball. And the simplest way to get in on the action is to download the Pick Six app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Nail your picks and you're heating up. Pick Six brings upside with payouts up to 500 times. Pick Six from DraftKings is the most fun way to play fantasy sports. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get a special sign-up offer. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick Six from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
Tyler, we got to get to an injury. Of course we do, because this is the 2025 Astros. But before we get there, I saw Lassie lost an eye today. Can you give us kind of a rundown?
How dare you come on here and call Lady Reveille Lassie? She's going through it. She'll be all right. You know, I don't know what. Look, I'll tell you one thing. There's some good vets coming out of Texas A&M, so I assumed that she was well taken care of. I had to take my cat to the vet today. Both of them in there were Aggies, so I'm assuming she's ready to go. Get out of
So,
here.
so they had to take her eye out. Like, do they shut the school down? Like, I know when she barks, like you're dismissed from class.
Yeah.
Like, the whole city shuts down. Like, now that she only has one eye, like, are they only doing like half a school year? Like, how does this work?
I would assume so. Maybe they turn out half the lights in
Mhm.
remembrance. I think that's probably it.
Are you allowed? Are you allowed to pet it or no? Is
Yeah,
that off limits?
yeah. You can go
Okay.
up. She's not a
Well,
service dog,
she's treated better than like half the animals I've
as
ever
she
seen.
should be. Thank
Sure.
you.
Sure. Okay. In actual injury news, Isaac Paredes has what looks to be what we know is a very significant hamstring injury. I think if you have two eyes and a brain and you watch the game in Seattle on Saturday, you knew that, but it has now been talked and confirmed that he's a while away. Joe Espada was asked if Isaac Paredes will return this season. He did not say yes. He also didn't say no. He just basically said, we don't know yet. They're still apparently looking at a bunch of different tests. Suffice to say, Isaac Paredes will not be back for a very long time. Tyler, I wonder if that change, like, because we talked on our last episode about, we both came at the deadline thinking, pitching has to be their priority. Like, they don't have depth. They don't have a ton of capable starters behind Brown and Valdez. They've got guys rehabbing, but do you want to gamble on whether they're effective or not? If Isaac Paredes is out for at minimum the next 6 weeks, I wonder, does that does that change your mindset? Do you think that they have to go more? Do they have to prioritize offense at the deadline now that Isaac Paredes is out?
I still would say it needs to be starting pitching for a couple of reasons. One, that light is shined a little brighter in the playoffs, which is what the ultimate goal is for the Astros this year. It's you need a number 3 and number 4 starter, and you know Brandon Walter has been great. Again, are you like fist pumping that you're starting him in game 3, of the ALCS? I don't think so. So you still need to get that, and also for what you have to pay, the upgrade that you can get from what you're currently doing to a cheap available starting pitcher is going to be more of an upgrade than that same cost that you would have to pay for a third baseman or an infielder or whatever. And the difference of like who you're going to get off the scrap heap versus like Dubon and Short and Brice Matthews, like the difference between those, I don't think is as drastic. One, because the players I think are closer in skill set, but two, there's 9 position players. And even when you're down a guy, you can maneuver a lineup where everybody else is still moving. Like if your starting pitcher can't throw in game 3, you ruin your whole series. You ruin the playoffs, So I still think that's got to be where the priority is.
Yeah, I dug around and talked to some people that would know, and they were cautious, but they did, acknowledge that Paredes, his injury and the amount of time he will be out, it does heighten their intensity for looking for a bat. But they also wanted to be adamant that, like, it's not as if they weren't looking for a bat already. Like,
Sure.
we've talked about it. Like, they're going to be in the market for a left-handed bat. I think their ideal target is a left-handed bat that can play some second base, that can maybe help in the outfield, because they've got to also keep in mind here, and I have a story about this coming in the Athletic tomorrow morning, about Cam Smith and the workload that he is absorbing. And he's handled it. I mean, he's 22 years old. He's very in shape. He takes care of himself very well, but this is still someone that has never played more than 98 games total in a season. This is also someone that's never taken more than about 380 plate appearances in a season. And those are numbers that he is going to shatter. He is on his way to shattering. And Dana Brown has talked about they need to find ways to not platoon him. They're not talking about not making him a regular player. He's an everyday player. But games like today, Joe Espada circled today, Wednesday, and said, Jose Altuve, you're not playing. Cam Smith, you're not playing. And because their roster is so gutted, I mean, we couldn't name the lineup they ran out there without Altuve and Cam. So it would probably behoove them to get a left-handed bat that can be somewhat of a platoon partner with Cam Smith in the outfield, just so they can get him through the season. You know, when October comes around, if Cam Smith's producing, like obviously he's hitting in the top half of your lineup, they're not talking about, you know, not making him an everyday player. But I think their ideal candidate is someone that can either play second base or someone that can play in the outfield, hits left-handed, and that can give Cam Smith or, you know, some other guys to a blow. But with Paredes being out for the length of time that they're forecasting him to be out, I wonder if someone that specifically can help on the infield is more of a priority. You're going to get Jeremy Pena back at some point. He is hitting in Florida. He's got to face live pitching at some point, but he's coming back. So you're going to have your shortstop back. Second base, who knows? Brice Matthews may have bought himself a pretty long runway this week.
So, yeah.
So you can pencil him in. You're not taking Christian Walker out of first. So you can live with Mauricio Dubon playing third base for the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, however long Isaac Paredes is out. But they still need depth behind him. Like they would like someone to be able to spell Dubon if they need Dubon in the outfield, or if they need to move Dubon around in the game, because he does function best on this roster as a utility guy. So while I don't think Isaac Paredes' injury completely alters their outlook, but I do think it puts a little more pressure on them to scour the position player market maybe a little bit more.
I have an idea that I'd like you to pass along to the training staff there. Cam Smith has pretty famously not tried caffeine, right? I think
he told the Associated Press, he has never tried caffeine and never drank alcohol.
You remember the first time you had like coffee and you had all of the energy in the world? Look, just wait till like game 120 this year when he's kind of hit his plateau, and then we're just going to start dosing caffeine, and that's going to get him he can easily make it a month and a half just running on caffeine. I did that every semester in college.
What age did you start drinking coffee?
College. I also worked at the newspapers. I was just up all night and then had to get up in the morning. So it took me a while. And look, I'll be honest, it took me a good bit to be like, okay, I can drink this. I don't like hot drinks a lot, but now I just drink black coffee because I'm too lazy to do anything with it.
That's so dad of you.
Thank you.
Do you want a frightening?
I was going to guess like 7. That's 5. Why there's
5.
Well, that's what you've burnt. You are the reason Cam Smith has never tried caffeine. He looks at you and like, this guy hadn't smiled in like 20 years. I'm not drinking caffeine. But for that first year, 5-year-old on caffeine. Good Lord. I tell your parents a special thank you tonight. As someone with a 5-year-old, if anyone gave that child caffeine, I would lose my mind.
So Alicia's not making coffee for Livy at this moment.
Goodness, no. We got
the one time I met Livy, she was pretty wound up.
She is like that 24/7. She is, I mean, just full sprint. So yeah, don't give her coffee, please.
Okay, well, we'll make sure of that. Speaking of coffee, Lance McCullers has a blister. That is the greatest transition we have had in this podcast. Lance McCullers is back on the injured list with a blister on his right finger. We don't know which finger it is. We don't know much about it because Lance flew back to Houston after he was put on the injured list on Tuesday. I guess from strictly just a roster construction and a performance standpoint, this kicks a can down the road for a little bit, because as we talked about on the last podcast, there were going to be some conversations to be had with Lance McCullers after, when these guys were ready to come back. When Arrighetti or Javier or Garcia was ready to come back, the conversations were going to maybe increase in difficulty. For now, those don't have to be had. Perhaps the blister impacted maybe his last couple starts. Joe Espada did say it's something that he had been dealing with a little bit, and it flared up in the Mariners series. I know there were Twitter doctors that tried to say you can't just be dealing with a blister, like you either have them or you don't. Well, pitchers get hot spots all the time. That's something, I think it happened to Max Fried right before the All-Star break. He came out of a game, preemptively because he felt a blister coming on. Pitchers just have certain places on their fingers, their hands. Pitchers that are prone to blisters, they will get these hot spots and they can feel them coming on, and they will stop themselves from throwing to basically, save themselves for the next few starts so the blister doesn't pop. So, it's just another chapter in a star-crossed season for Lance. And you hope it's for his sake, you hope it's a minimum sort of thing, and he can come back after the 15 days. He will not be back. He's not eligible to be activated until after the trade deadline. So I guess the Astros will enter the trade deadline, knowing that he won't be available. But I don't think what Lance was doing or not doing was going to impact what they were going to do at the dead. They need a starter, whether he was pitching well or not.
Yeah, if we're in a safe space here, we can all agree this is where we are. It's probably good for everybody that he's out for a little bit. He gets a little rest, reset, figure something out. You get 3 runs through rotation of other guys to see what's working, what's not. You get some more clarity there. You don't have to make any drastic season altering decisions of, whatever was going to happen. Now it's like, all right, you get to kind of just see a free roll for the next 3 starts of who's going to be taking his spot, how they're looking, how the rest of the roster is constructed after the trade deadline. And then it gives you kind of a clean break to come back in and go like, well, rotation spots are full now. Here's all the people who are pitching well, or here's where we need you right now, whatever it is. I think it's probably for the best for, you never want to see somebody be injured. Obviously, that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying timing wise, probably okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're not trying to be insensitive here, but this does afford Lance, a couple of weeks to decompress, to kind of get a mental reset. I talked with someone in the organization that actually brought that up, in terms of, hopefully this can be that helps him out. And, he had that a couple of weeks ago when he sprained his foot in the weight room, and, he had that same kind of reset period. Maybe this is what he needs to turn the corner and get a little bit clearer mind, maybe go through what's been going on to see what can help him maybe turn this around. But yeah, he will not be a part of the rotation for the foreseeable future. Jason Alexander will. He is going to start on Thursday against the A's at Daikin Park in the series opener. The Astros are TBA for Friday. I'd imagine to be Ryan Gusto, but Ryan Gusto did throw a bullpen today at Chase Field, which would indicate to me that he will pitch on Friday, but who knows at this point. At this point, Tyler, it probably doesn't matter. I could probably pitch and I would somehow get through 5 scoreless innings.
I think you would. I absolutely believe it. There's something about the uniform right now. And maybe this is what they're telling people at the trade deadline of like, look, pick anybody. I don't even care. They just have a heat check where it's like, you draw a name out of a hat, send them over, it'll be fine.
Yeah. I do wonder though, like, as you look at the major league roster right now, and I was thinking about this the other day.
I would prefer not to, but go ahead.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting to. Like they've got so many guys out, and none of these guys are like imminently coming back. Like maybe Jeremy Pena is close, but like I don't think Yordan Alvarez is coming back within the next week. Jake Myers certainly isn't. Isaac Paredes certainly isn't. It's going to be hard for them to trade anyone like off the major league roster simply because like they need them to play. Like they don't have any bodies. Like But if you were to look at the roster, if you were to look at the current major league roster, like
Mm-hmm.
who to you sticks out as like if they're gonna have to move someone off the major league roster, who do you think it would be?
I think it's any of the kind of three people in the same boat outfield. I mean, again, these are not people that people are dying to get, but it's Hummel, McCormick, Trammell. Those guys are all relatively doing the same thing, so that's where you've got a little bit of depth. Um, I mean, outside of that, though, you're right. Like that, I mean, Shea Whitcomb, is another young, controllable player that you've kind of got duplicates of right now, the way that you're constructed. I think that's where you can trade from that major league depth. But again, there's nobody that another team is saying like, yes, we want to send you over a good player back, which is my point of like trading for a bat. Like, who are you trading that you're going to get back anybody better than what you're sending away? I know there's a few like kind of fringe candidates and you can package, some prospects and things like that. I understand that, but the the roster is so compressed with just guys that are kind of okay to like pretty good sometimes. It's like that's who you're going to get at the trade deadline when you're not paying like crazy prospect capital, which the Astros just wouldn't and aren't capable of doing. So I don't see a huge upgrade there, especially because like you said, you probably only have like one or two guys maybe that you can trade off the major league roster right now. And so you're probably only going to be able to make one, maybe two trades to improve your big league roster.
Yeah, I'd probably say it's Chas McCormick. That'd
Yeah.
probably be like the guy that sticks out the most for a couple reasons. One, like he has a major league track record. Like 2 years ago, he had a 130 something OPS plus and was like a very good player. Injuries and some obvious underperformance, but injuries have also hampered him the last 2 years. He seems like a guy that I'm not saying Chas is unhappy here. Do not misconstrue this. Chas is happy here. He likes Houston. He likes the Astros, but he does seem like the kind of guy that a change of scenery candidate, a guy that gets into another place that maybe could help him playing every day because he is not guaranteed everyday playing time here. Not even on this current iteration of the roster, but certainly not when Jake Myers is back. Certainly not when Jacob Melton is back. There's not. He's the fourth outfielder, and so you do wonder if he can get on a team where he's playing regularly, maybe that helps him out. Also, from just a maneuverability standpoint, like he's got one more year of arbitration eligibility, so he's got some team control. He is relatively cost controlled. He's making $3.4 million this year, which is not insignificant for an Astros team that may have to move some money around payroll wise if Jim Crane doesn't want to cross the luxury tax. So getting some of his money off the books could help. But yeah, he's probably the most obvious one. I would have said, Mauricio Dubon makes a lot of sense to me, but again, they just
he's not going anywhere.
He's not. They can't. There was a world where if Yainer Diaz was a better offensive player and they had, someone other than Cesar Salazar that they could come up as a backup, that Victor Caratini could be that in that same boat. But Victor Caratini's hitting second today.
Heartbeat right now. Yeah.
He's taking some of the best at bats on the team. So
I will say for some like bigger swing trades, I'm not saying that this is remotely on their radar, but you do have a couple of guys that if you were trying to get somebody with maybe like 2 years of control or, something like that, you could certainly see pieces of like Ryan Gusto or even like Colton Gordon, guys like that are like young, controllable starters who have been pretty good. I think Gusso would probably be more valuable, but guys like that where you're trading away a guy that's, very similar last year to like the Kikuchi trade where you're trading away a guy that's like, yeah, this guy's probably going to be a 4 or 5 starter for a few years. He's going to be pretty good, but you can upgrade this year to like a 2 or a 3. I could see them making a trade similar to that if there was somebody like that worth giving up 6 years of control of somebody like Gusto.
Yeah, and also remember too that like when we're talking about the starting pitching, like they should, and I think they are planning on like
Right.
Spencer Arrighetti is going to pitch all year next year. Christian Javier is going to pitch all year next year. Luis Garcia is going to pitch all year next year. You have Hunter Brown coming back. They've got like Lance McCullers will be back next year. Like he will be on the roster and he is a starting pitcher. So, I mean, you start to look at it and like they do have like their core rotation is already there for next year.
Right.
So they could afford to trade from maybe that surplus right now that you don't see as part of their playoff rotation, that you don't see maybe as part of the rotation when they're at full strength. That would make a lot of sense. But there is one other thing that I think we should discuss when it comes to starting pitching and trades and kind of who they're targeting. And we'll talk about that right after another message from our friends at Foul Territory.
Time for a quickie break. Todd Father and I are going to tell you about Huel, but it's mostly going to be Todd Father because I'm going to take a sip.
Well, we're talking about Huel, 27 vitamins and minerals. It's a complete meal. Let's listen. We all have busy schedules. As Scott's sipping it down, it looks delicious. It tastes delicious. When we're on the run, we need something to eat quick. And guess what? Huel is there, all different flavors. Scotty loves them. I love them. And I love how variety-packed it is, and we can eat them any time of the day.
That's right. Yeah, check out the website. There's bars. There are so many different flavors. I love the black edition. Chocolate, 35 grams of protein. There's strawberry shortcake, coffee caramel, cookies and cream. I can go on, and you get yourself 15% off if you're a new customer using the code FOUL at Huel.com/foul. Please see our description for the terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition with the code FOUL at Huel.com/foul.
Tyler, we're both smart adults here, so we can say pretty confidently that Framber Valdez will not be an Astro next year. Like,
Correct.
we know that, right?
Yep.
Like, barring something completely unforeseen, barring Jim Crane doing something that he has never done in his ownership tenure, Framber Valdez will not be an Astro next year. They will need to replace him. They have Hunter Brown, who is ascended into acehood this year, so that will help. Christian Javier, as we just talked about, Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, Spencer Arrighetti, they'll be back. But, they probably are going to need to go get like an established, like not ace. I'm not talking about, going to the top of the market if they need it.
Because then you would just sign Framber.
Right. So I do wonder, like, when you start to look at starting pitching at the deadline, do you look at a guy with a year of not a rental? Do you look at maybe someone with another year of control because you are going to be bracing for Framber's expected departure? And I mean, let's be honest here, like, you don't wish injury on anyone and you don't predict injury, but the way the sport is and the way pitching is nowadays, like, you have to plan that at least two guys that you come into camp with that you think are going to be in your starting rotation are going to get hurt and miss a majority of the season. So I do wonder if that changes their calculus a little bit, if they have enough ammo and enough prospects to get a starter that is controllable. I wonder if that is entering their mind, that they are going to have to trade not only to make this team better, but to make next year's team and then maybe even the next year's team better after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense for them. Like you said, there's, there is some kind of surplus of those back into the rotation guys. Like we talked about, you're going to have Arrighetti, Garcia, Javier, but then you've got your Gustos, your Brandon Walter, guys like that. Not to mention, Uloa.
Miguel Eola, yeah.
Okay, right? Another guy that's like, could be a very attractive trade piece and somebody that, obviously you want to keep around. You're not just giving him away. But if you can get a year and a half or 2.5 years of a guy that you're penciling in as like a number 2, number 3 starter, I think that's certainly worth looking at for sure.
It's so funny how like this time of year works. It was hilarious to me watching Brice Matthews's 2-homer game in the first game here, and immediately all of my social media was like, well, does this make him untouchable? Are they going to trade him? Like, he's untouchable now. He hit 2 homers in a game. I don't think that's not how it works. Look, Brice Matthews is their best prospect. He's their best prospect, and he is Dana Brown's first draft pick as a general manager. So there is some allegiance there. There is some affinity for him. Obviously, they like him a lot. He is going to play second base for this team for at least a foreseeable future until maybe whatever happens at the deadline if they get someone more established in here. But also Tyler, like, you got to remember, this is they have not really cared about that the last couple deadlines. This is a team right now that is they're in penance over prospects mode. Like, they don't, like, they traded Drew Gilbert a couple of years ago for Justin Verlander. Like, Drew Gilbert was the first round pick, was the best prospect out there, and they traded him. They traded Ryan Clifford. They traded Jake Bloss, who was their best pitching prospect. Like, they have shown they have precedent to trade from the top of their farm system if they see something that they want. And, I think what also needs to be talked about is, who is the last prospect that they traded away that they're kicking themselves about? That is just like, oh man, like, I can't believe we let that guy get away.
I can think of two. One, you paid $19 million to come back. So Josh Hader was a rough one. Teoscar Hernandez too.
Right.
Really, but you're right. It hasn't been, really recently. I mean, there's what's the guy on the Red Sox now?
Oh, Willie Abreu.
Right. Like, another guy that's like, okay, that probably shouldn't have done that. But
well, and right, let's also remember that they didn't have to do that,
right?
Because James Click had a trade agreed to with the Cubs, Wilson Contreras for Jose Urquidy, and Jim Crane and Dusty Baker nixed it, which forced Click to pivot to acquire another catcher, Christian Vasquez, who they ended up giving up Willie Abreu and Emmanuel Valdez. So, they could have kept, like, there was a world in which they kept Willie Abreu and did not trade him. But continue.
I mean, but you're right. It doesn't happen often. I mean, but that's also kind of the story of prospects. Like, even looking around the league right now, there's not a lot of guys that you look at, and just go like, I can't believe that this team there's only so many of those. Obviously those exist and you remember them forever. I mean, the Astros, I heard the story my entire life of the Jeff Bagwell trade. That was like part of a ritual growing up. Those things happen, but it doesn't happen at a frequency where if you trade unproven high ceiling talent for proven control of a couple of years, especially when you're in a championship window like the Astros are right now. They're not having to just collect lottery tickets like they were 10, 15 years ago and just hope that if you have 100 of them, 15 of them will hit at one time and you can have a really good team. They're not in that mode anymore. They're looking for little pieces for the next year or two, and then you assume that you've replenished prospects at that point and you can do it again and just go like, all right, we're trading 6 years of this guy for 2 of this guy, but because the team is constructed so well, you can take that risk and see what happens. Because again, the absolute worst case scenario when you're trading for proven talent that performs well, obviously we talked to Jeff Luno about the Carlos Gomez trade. It doesn't always work out that even the guy you're trading for performs well, but assuming that they do perform well, the worst case scenario is you watch another guy outperform for 4 more years than you had the other guy anyway, and then they're going to be a free agent. So, it's not that big of a risk when you're getting good talent back.
Yeah, and like we can, the golden era start in 2015 or 2017. When is your line of like when the golden era started?
15 is when it started, and 16 doesn't count, but 15 set it all up for sure.
Okay, so it started in 2015. That's when they made the Gomez fires Hader trade in 15. So we are talking about 10 years, 9 trade deadlines in 10 years. And we named 3 prospects that they should regret trading. One of which they didn't. We talked about Willie Abreu. Like that was a dysfunctional setup that got Willie Abreu traded.
And they didn't even draft Hader. They traded for him.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're talking about they regret trading 3 prospects in 10 years. Keep that in mind as the next 8 days unfold, and as you start to hear of guys that could be in potential trade packages. Please keep in mind last year how everyone wanted to tear down the ballpark when Joey Loperfido, Will Wagner, and Jake Bloss went to Toronto. And I think Bloss is hurt, but I think Wagner and Loperfido are both on the Blue Jays currently, but certainly not playing super prominent roles. But they're role players. They're on the major league team, and Toronto's playing very well. But it's not always as bad as you think. And just remember that. Remember, because it was just so funny to everyone's immediate reaction was not to be happy for Brice Matthews. It was, oh my God, does this mean they're not going to trade him? And it's okay, guys. Even if they do trade him, let's let it play out. Let's see how it works. But very rarely, and as we just talked about, very rarely is it that you're going to be very burned by a prospect that you trade away. And who knows, if you are burned by them, you can give them $95 million to come back and pitch the ninth inning and close out a game in Arizona to give the Astros the best record in the American League. And, they will continue to put that record on the line against the cityless A's this weekend at Daikin Park. They will face Luis Severino on Thursday, who is very good not in Sacramento. He is not good in Sacramento, has been very vocal that he doesn't like pitching in Sacramento. He is on the trade block. He is a front-end starter. He has some past dealings with Joe Espada, a former
and a couple years of control. A former Yankee, just like Joe Espada. So he's got some familiarity there. The Astros have long been intrigued by him. I am not here to tell you that is happening. I'm not here to tell you that is even something that they've talked about, but he is certainly someone that you should maybe keep your eye out on. But you could say that about a lot of guys right now on the trade block. Don't believe everything you read this time of year. I say this every year in free agency, and I say this every year at the trade deadline. This is the easiest way for people to throw blank against a wall and hope it sticks. Because let's face it, Dana Brown has been open, right? They need a starting pitcher and they need a left-handed bat. It is a dereliction of duty if Dana Brown hasn't called on every starting pitcher available. It's a dereliction of duty if Dana Brown hasn't called on every left-handed bat that's out there available. So yes, you could get cheap engagement if you put out there, the Astros have kicked the tires on Luis Severino. The Astros have kicked the tires on Joe Ryan. The Astros have kicked the tires on Andrew Heaney. Well, I would hope they would have, because they are in the starting pitching market. There's only 20 of them. How hard can it be to kick those tires?
They've kicked the tires on Cedric Mullins. They've kicked the tires on Ryan O'Hearn. Of course they have. If they haven't, then Dana Brown and his lieutenants are not doing their job. So in the next 8 days, just be careful what you read. Don't take everything with such gospel. Don't take everything as oh my God, it's going to happen. Executives make a lot of calls this time of year. They make a lot of texts this time of year. As Jeff Luhnow told us, there are deals that get to the 1 yard line and they don't happen, sometimes including Bryce Harper. There are deals that I've talked to people that work in media relations for this team and other teams that the press release graveyard that they have is pretty substantial. There are deals that get to the point where a press release is written and then it's not sent out. So it's going to be a crazy 8 days. It's going to be a lot of twists and turns. I don't think there's going to be a lot of activity until maybe the last couple of days. Everyone I've talked to sounds like this is a pretty slow moving market, mainly because there's a lot of teams that are deciding whether they want to buy or sell, and that's holding it up a little bit. But expect the activity to increase across the next week. And as it does, we will be with you. We will bring you everything that you need to know about the Astros at the trade deadline. You can follow the Crush City Territory socials, and you can follow Tyler on X at Tyler C. Stafford. You can follow me at Chandler_Rome. As always, please please rate and review us on Apple. Please, you can comment on Spotify if you want. You can like the videos on YouTube. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel to get notified every time we post a new podcast. We will be back on Friday during a podcast in which we will actually talk about some names. We will put some names out there. We will talk about some targets that make sense for the Astros, some players that would make sense for both this season and, as we talked about, maybe next year. Until then, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.